I brought home the cancer diagnosis certificate I used for filming. My cold contractual wife, Liu Ruyan, asked me during dinner how many months I had left. I thought she was referring to our matrimonial contract of 5 years, so I answered a little over a month. She fell silent. Later, after I quietly retired abroad for half a year for a retreat, upon my return my friends told me that Liu Ruyan had gone crazy looking for her deceased husband. She wanted to see me in person or see my corpse. Even if she had to dig 3 feet under, they had to find that person for her, manager Liu. Dinner was ready, but Liu Ruyan was still absorbed in that cancer diagnosis certificate. Not knowing it was just a prop for my movie, Liu Ruyan snapped out of it. On the table were 3 dishes and a soup. They were all dishes that Liu Ruyan liked, but she had no appetite that night. She took a few bites and looked up to ask me, "How much time do you have left?" I was a little stunned. After reacting, I understood she was referring to the 5-year contract, a little over a month. I had already mentally prepared myself for this day's arrival, because when we got married, Liu Ruyan's secretary had seriously warned me. Liu Ruyan didn't just marry me because of family pressure, but more importantly, my appearance looked one-third like her white moonlight, who went abroad 5 years ago to study. In other words, I was just a substitute after her white moonlight left. Liu Ruyan's white moonlight was about to return to the country. Her suddenly asking about the contract meant she probably wanted me to make room for her white moonlight. As I finished speaking, I couldn't help but notice Liu Ruyan frowned slightly. I sighed with resignation and added, "Don't worry, Manager Liu. When the time comes, I will leave of my own accord. I won't cause you any trouble." In fact, I understood. After all, it was her white moonlight she had yearned for 5 years. She didn't want that person to see another man by her side. It was normal. These years, Liu Ruyan had treated me quite well. Maybe I shouldn't make things difficult for her. So I said, "Manager Liu, I'll move out as soon as possible, but finding a house in Yangcheng is not easy. Could you give me 3 days? In 3 days, I promise to move out immediately. Are you that eager to move out?" I don't know why this sentence angered Liu Ruyan. Her face showed clear irritation. I didn't understand what she meant. Liu Ruyan stood up with a pale face and said, "I didn't tell you to move out, just stay here quietly." With that, she went straight to her study. I stood there stunned, looking at her back, not understanding what had happened. Normally, Liu Ruyan wouldn't speak to me on her own initiative. If she did, it was bound to be something important. Today she asked about the contract. She clearly wanted to resolve this quickly. I had already offered to leave. In theory, she should be happy. Why was she irritable? I thought about it for a while and more or less understood. After all, she was a billionaire president. She still had a sense of contract compliance. Perhaps it was a matter of pride. She wanted to fulfill the last month according to the contract. It had always been like this, although she had treated me coldly all these years. She had never broken her word. However, since she was abiding by the contract, I shouldn't be inconsiderate. I'd better find a place soon and move out. After dinner and tidying up the house, I took the folder from the coffee table and went back to the bedroom. There were 3 days left before filming this series. I had to study the script carefully. Opening the folder, I was stunned. I had brought home this diagnosis certificate. It was a prop for my character. Maybe Guzi had included it by mistake with the script. After dinner, I sat at my desk and studied the script carefully. I have always been very serious. I put 100% of my energy into everything I do. This time, the role Guzi got me was just a supporting character in a low-budget web series, but I still put all my enthusiasm into understanding the character's personality. Soon, it was 9 o'clock. I looked at the clock, got up, and went to the kitchen. Liu Ruyan was a workaholic, especially these past few years since taking over the family business. She spent her days so busy that she didn't even eat. Over time, she developed a severe stomach condition. When I found out, I went to great lengths. To consult many renowned doctors, I bought many medical books and prepared medicinal porridge. Surprisingly, ever since Liu Ruyan started eating the porridge, her symptoms improved significantly. So every night I would prepare a bowl of medicinal porridge for her. Even when Liu Ruyan wasn't home and lived at the company, I delivered it without fail for 5 years. As for contractual self-discipline, I think I was pretty good at it. The fragrant porridge was ready quickly. I filled a bowl and walked to the study door. When I arrived, I vaguely heard Liu Ruyan's voice from inside. She seemed to be speaking on the phone. Her voice was extremely gentle, hard to imagine that the cold Liu Ruyan could have such a tender side. "Are you coming back early?" "All right, then I'll go to pick you up at the airport. I told you, he and I are only married by contract for these 3 years. I haven't even let him touch my fingertips. The contract ends in 2 months, and then I'll make it clear to him." I waited a moment until she hung up the phone and then knocked on the door. Liu Ruyan opened the door. Director Liu, I just made some porridge. Medicinal, drink it while it's hot, I won't disturb you. I put down the porridge and was preparing to leave when she asked, do you have any wishes? Liu Ruyan asked suddenly. I hesitated for a moment and then gave a warm smile. I know. Liu Ruyan has always been a kind-hearted woman. Since she took over the business group just for Hope schools, she has donated to dozens of them. She is a famous philanthropist in Yangcheng. Perhaps realizing that our contract is about to end, she wants to compensate me. Thank you, President Liu, I said, gently shaking my head. 5 years ago, you paid me 5 million all at once. Over these years, you've also given me many gifts from time to time. You've already given me enough, for now I don't have any wishes. But thanks all the same. Liu Ruyan fell silent and didn't say anything else. Just as I was about to leave, she spoke again. I know a very renowned doctor, both domestically and abroad, who is especially good at treating lung diseases. I have already contacted him by phone. I will send you his contact information in a moment. You can consult him. Hearing this, my heart warmed slightly. 5 years ago, the orphanage where I lived suddenly caught fire. Director Chen Shan, to save the children, risked his life entering the fire several times. Not only did he suffer extensive burns, but he also inhaled a lot of smoke, which led to a severe lung disease. Back then, I accepted this contract with the goal of raising money to treat Grandpa Chen and rebuild the orphanage. I had never told Liu Ruyan about this. I thought she wouldn't care about such things. It seems I was wrong. She must have investigated secretly on her own. Thank you, President Liu, I expressed my gratitude. The next day, I got up early and prepared a hearty breakfast while waiting for Liu Ruyan to wake up. I was in the living room rehearsing my lines. At 8:20, Liu Ruyan came out of her room, fully dressed. It must be said, this woman is truly breathtakingly beautiful. Whatever clothes she wears, she has a unique charm. Breakfast is on the table. I warmed up some milk for you in the microwave. There are several options. Choose the one you like most. Liu Ruyan nodded slightly. She sat down at the table and began to eat breakfast with elegance, taking small bites as expected of a lady from a wealthy family. Educated with great care since childhood, every single one of her movements was full of refinement and grace, pleasing to the eye. Liu Ruyan likes peace and quiet, so I didn't think it was appropriate to rehearse my lines in front of her. As I was about to go back to my room, she called out to me, last night I booked an appointment with Dr. Han. Today he is coming to Nanjiang Hospital for a conference. Go and see him directly. I nodded and thanked her. Liu Ruyan lowered her head and continued eating in silence. I went back to my room and tidied myself up a bit. Shortly after, I heard the sound of the front door closing. It must be that Liu Ruyan had already left for work. I got ready and went out to take a taxi to the hospital. Just as I pulled out my phone, a white Porsche pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing the delicate face of Liu Ruyan. Get in, I'll drive you. I was instantly stunned. I knew what this car meant to Liu Ruyan. Out of all her luxury cars, this one was the most modest, but it was a birthday gift from her first love. Liu Ruyan takes extreme care of it. She doesn't care about sports cars worth tens of millions, but she maintains this one with dedication, never letting it suffer the slightest damage. She never lets any man get into this car, including me. That's not necessary, President Liu, I'll take a taxi. If it gets scratched or dirty, I wouldn't be able to afford this car. Liu Ruyan's brow furrowed instantly. I opened my mouth in astonishment, and under her increasingly cold gaze, I finally said, thank you, and obediently got into the car. The interior was strangely silent. But then Liu Ruyan suddenly broke the silence. Her words made me shudder. When were you diagnosed? Liu Ruyan asked out of nowhere. I thought she was referring to Grandpa Chen, so I replied, 2 years ago. I still hadn't fully processed it. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I was filled with confusion. Today she seemed to speak more than usual. In an entire year, she wouldn't normally say this many words. But thinking it was out of good intentions, I told her, President Liu, you are very busy with work. I don't want to trouble you with these matters. Her voice sounded irritated. Even if it's a contract marriage, we are still legally husband and wife. You shouldn't have hidden it from me. She sighed and added, if you need anything, you can call me anytime. Half an hour later, I expressed my sincere gratitude to her. Liu Ruyan looked at me for a moment and then drove away from the hospital. I went inside and approached the third bed. In it lay an old man in his 60s with his face disfigured by the flames. Although he had undergone multiple plastic surgeries, he still looked very energetic. The old man was in high spirits. Seeing me, he grinned, showing his teeth. Ah, didn't I tell you that work is important? You don't have to keep coming to accompany an old man like me every day. Grandpa, I found a lung disease specialist for you. He is visiting the hospital today for an exchange program. I will go find him later to have him examine you. I sat next to the bed, peeling an apple for him. Just as I was halfway through and about to speak, several doctors suddenly walked in for their rounds. At the front was a female doctor with a slender figure. Although she was wearing a mask, her stunning beauty was still visible in her eyes and eyebrows. She was Su Xiaoxu, the prodigy doctor of the Central Hospital and also Grandpa Chen's primary doctor. Lin Yang, you're early today. Dr. Su, I quickly stood up to greet her. Over these 10 years, thanks to Su Xiaoxu's care for him, I felt immense gratitude toward this kind doctor. Su Xiaoxu pulled me aside and asked, Lin Yang, are you short on money lately? Grandpa Chen's medical expenses have run out if you need funds. But at that moment, I was indeed short of money. The 5 million that Liu Ruyan gave me had been spent long ago. In these 2 years, I had also earned some on my own, but it all went toward medical expenses and the orphanage. I also thought about borrowing from Liu Ruyan, but she didn't owe me anything. On the contrary, over these years she had treated me quite well. I simply couldn't bring myself to ask, "Thank you, Dr. Su, I'll find a way to handle the medical expenses." I declined her kindness. Su Xiaoxu had already helped me enough over the years. I didn't want to owe her any more favors. Su Xiaoxu sighed softly. Having known me for 10 years, she knew my personality well. I seemed gentle and obedient, but in reality, I was more stubborn than anyone. All right, if you need help, tell me at any time, unless you don't consider me your friend. Of course I do. You're my only friend. If anything happens, I'll tell you first. My only friend. Su Xiaoxu's beautiful face, hidden behind her mask, blushed. She lifted her head and stole a quick glance at me. Her heart beat fast and erratically. He's already gone and you're still staring. A snow-white hand landed on Su Xiaoxu's shoulder. Startled, she turned her head and saw the teasing face of her best friend. Wang Nai, what nonsense are you talking? Su Xiaoxu glared at her. It was just a normal conversation between a doctor and a patient's relative. It's not as exaggerated as you say. Do you even believe that yourself? For 10 years you've cared for that Chen Xian as if he were your own grandfather. I've never seen any doctor care for a patient to that extent. Or are you imagining yourself as his granddaughter-in-law? Seriously, Xiaoxu, if you really like him, go for him. These days, who says only men can pursue women? That guy is a genuinely good person, super handsome and also warm and attentive. There are so many people in his orphanage, but others at most just drop by to take a look. Only he has cared for them like this for 10 years without fail, Wang Nai said seriously. In today's society, there are few people left who are as kind-hearted as him. Even if he has no money, your family has plenty. A shadow of confusion crossed Su Xiaoxu's eyes. She still clearly remembered that day 10 years ago when I, with a pleading and distressed look, knelt before her, begging her to cure Chen Xian. At that moment, many people from the orphanage arrived. The others only thought about the big fire, worrying if their things had burned. Perhaps some also worried about Chen Xian's safety, but only I, with all my heart and soul, cared about the patient's health. Afterwards, every day she saw me watching by Chen Xian's bedside. Day after day, they say that there are no filial sons at a long illness's bedside, but Su Xiaoxu never saw even a hint of impatience on my face. Perhaps it was this sincerity that moved her, and she also dedicated more energy to caring for Chen Xian. Over time, we grew close. What truly strengthened the bond between us was a medical dispute that occurred a year ago. At that time, 7 or 8 relatives of a patient arrived. The patient, already weak, had been brought to the hospital but could not be cured. They insisted on blaming the hospital and the primary doctor, claiming the hospital had treated life with negligence and demanding compensation. Since they couldn't reach an agreement, that group brutally surrounded the primary doctor, Su Xiaoxu, in the parking lot. She said, "You can't say that lightly. He's already married." Wang Nai was shocked. But in all these years, since we've never seen his wife come around, his wife must be very busy with work. What a pity. Such a good guy is so lovable. I wonder which woman is so lucky. With his care, that woman must be very happy. Wang Nai's heart was filled with regret. She had even thought that if Su Xiaoxu didn't show interest, she would make a move herself, but it turned out he was already married. Su Xiaoxu's heart was also filled with bitterness. Through the door, she saw inside the room my face laughing and chatting with Chen Xian, and she was lost in thought for a moment. Grandpa Chen's illness can be cured. He just needs an expensive surgery. Hearing this good news, I was in a very good mood all day. When I got home, Liu Ruyan still hadn't returned. This was normal. Out of the year, she spent more than half of it away from home, besides being very busy with work. Most of the time, I sleep in the guest room. I also know that Liu Ruyan is just trying to avoid contact with me. She truly loves her white moonlight. She has remained faithful to him. And for 3 years, apart from business matters, she has never wanted to get too close to any man, not even to me, her nominal husband. Past 9 o'clock at night, I prepared some medicinal porridge. I took the porridge to Liu Ruyan's company, the Liu Building, an 80-story commercial skyscraper. Entering the lobby, the interior was magnificent, like a palace, and I couldn't help but marvel at the